A little black boy came running down the road, waving his arms, grabbing at leather jackets as he begged a gang of bikers, "Please, please follow me home and help my mama." The bikers glanced at each other, confused, but something in his voice made their stomachs tighten. So they followed him to his home. And when they stepped onto that porch and saw what was waiting behind that cracked doorway, even the toughest men in town went silent. Because sometimes the smallest voice carries the biggest truth. The road was quiet, too quiet. Just the low hum of cicadas across a sun-baked stretch of gravel. A pack of bikers, patched leather, big boots, gray beards that had seen war and worse, stood outside a small roadside cafe, sipping coffee and minding their business. That's when they heard it. Footsteps. Fast, frantic, pounding like a scared heartbeat. A boy, maybe 9, maybe 10, skinny arms pumping, chest heaving, eyes wide with the kind of fear no kid should ever carry. Dirt smeared across his cheek like a fingerprint from the world's worst day. He stumbled, caught himself, kept running. "Please," he shouted, voice cracking. "Please help my mom." Every biker froze mid-sip, because something in that yell pierced deeper than just trouble. Old Man Buck, club captain, hair more silver than black, turned first. "Easy now, son. Breathe." But the boy shook his head hard, tears flying. She won't wake up. He hurt her. He's coming back." The bikers looked at each other, shoulders squared, eyes traded like silent radio. Scar, big guy, arms like tree trunks, crouched down. "Where's the police, kid?" The boy swallowed, lip trembling. They said it's a domestic thing," and drove off. Every jaw tightened. Buck muttered slow, low, "Lord have mercy." The boy's eyes flicked across their patches. Skulls, eagles, names long faded. But he didn't slow. Something in him trusted these strangers more than those with badges. Scar pressed gently. "Why'd you run to us?" The kid sniffed, voice shaking. "'Cause folks say you don't let bullies win." That hung in the air like smoke. Old Maine, scarred knuckles, soft eyes, let out a slow sigh. "Who hurt her, son?" The boy's breath hitched. "Our neighbor. He's mean. He always yells at Mom about rent. And today he hit her. Hard." Buck stood straight. Boots scuffed gravel. "Where's home?" The boy pointed, finger trembling, toward a crooked trailer at the end of the road, half hidden behind weeds, windows cracked like spiderwebs. Buck nodded once. The bikers didn't roar their engines. They didn't need sound to speak. Kickstands flicked up, leather creaked, visors dropped, and the boy stared in shock as these rough giants mounted like knights. Buck leaned down. "You ride with me. Hang on tight." The boy clutched his belt, sniffing back fear. Scar rumbled, "You boys remember the rule." All voices answered in unison. "No one gets left alone." The engines thundered alive, deep, rolling, righteous, as dust spun around their wheels like smoke from a battlefield. Neighbors peeked through blinds. Curtains shifted. Fear and curiosity whispered across the quiet block. But there was no hesitation, no politics, no paperwork, just men riding hard to a kid's cry. As they tore down that dirt road, Buck glanced back. The boy's head was bowed, knuckles white, whispering under his breath, Please be okay, Mom." And right there, every biker tightened their grip. Because nothing hits an old heart harder than a child, begging the world not to take their parent. They skidded to a stop in front of that crooked trailer. Windows busted, door cracked open, silence leaking out like smoke from a fire you can't see yet. Buck killed his engine. "All right, boys," he growled, slow and grave. "Let's go see what broke this kid's heart." The boys slid off, running to the door, and what they saw inside made even the toughest man's jaw clench. The trailer door hung crooked on one hinge, swaying just enough to whine in the breeze. The boy didn't wait. He slipped inside like someone who'd done this run before. The bikers followed slower, boots thumping, shoulders squared, eyes scanning. And when they stepped through that doorway, every breath stalled. There she was, a middle-aged woman, curls matted to her forehead, lying on the linoleum floor, one hand still reaching toward the kitchen table, like she'd tried to pull herself up and didn't make it. Purple bruises wrapped her arms like someone's fingerprints, a swelling cheekbone, a split lip. Scar whispered under his breath. "Lord help us." Buck knelt, 2 fingers to her neck. "Pulse is weak, but she's here." The boy dropped beside them, whispering, "Mama, please wake up. Mama?" His small hand shook against hers. The house smelled of overturned liquor and cheap rage. A chair lay upside down, a dent in the drywall big as a fist. Old Main walked the hallway, saw boot prints on the carpet, heavy steps pacing like a storm. When he returned, his voice was low. "Whoever did this?" "He ain't finished." Buck's jaw tightened. "Kid who hurt your mom?" The boy swallowed, eyes red. "Mr. Grant lives next door. Gets real mad. Says Mama owes him favors for the rent, and she says no." Every biker froze. That sentence carries weight. Scar looked around, taking in the scene. "Police really walked away from this?" The boy nodded, chin trembling. "Told 'em it was an accident. They didn't listen to me." Buck stood slowly. You could almost hear the anger settle in his bones. The patient kind older men learn from time and regret. "Scar, get the first aid kit off my bike. Main, check the rest of the house. Make sure he ain't hiding somewhere drunk and stupid." Scar sprinted. Main ghosted through rooms like a hunting dog. Buck helped ease the woman onto her side, rolling her gently. She groaned, breath rattling. "Hush now. You're safe. We got you." The boy pressed close, tears dropping like apology. "I couldn't stop him, mister." Buck put a hand on his shoulder, warm, heavy, father sure. "Son, it ain't your job to stop grown men." "It's ours," Scar returned, setting down supplies. The bikers worked with surprising care. These weren't amateurs. Bandaging, lifting, whispering reassurance, like men who'd seen war and learned softness anyway. Then Maine came back. Face like thunder. Truck's gone. Fresh tire marks. Looks like he left fast. Buck's eyes narrowed. "Which means he'll come back faster." Scar hissed through his teeth. "We can't leave them here." The boy looked up. "He said he'd come back tonight. Said Mama needs to learn to be neighborly." His voice cracked on the word. That settled it. Buck stood, tall, older, but steady as an oak. "We're taking her to the clinic. She needs a doctor, not denial." The boy grabbed his vest. "They'll call the cops if we go there." "Then he'll get madder." Scar pulled off his own patch, a skull wrapped in wings, and set it in the boy's hand. "Kid, we don't scare easy, and we don't let cowards chase children." For a moment, the boy just stared. Then, a growl of an engine cut through the air outside. Loud, angry, tires on gravel. Buck's hand dropped to his belt. Maine leaned toward the window. Scar's expression hardened. He's back. And suddenly, the hallway felt smaller, the air thicker, the floorboards colder. The woman whimpered. The boy froze. Buck whispered, voice calm like a preacher before lightning. All right, boys. Helmets on. Voices low. Scar cracked his knuckles. Maine rolled his sleeves. Outside, the truck door slammed. Heavy footsteps approached. And when the shadow filled the doorway, everything these bikers had bottled up over the years rose like thunder. Gravel crunched under boots as Buck pushed open the trailer door, stepping out first. Scar and Maine flanked him, wide as barn doors, calm as old soldiers. The boy clung to the doorway, eyes big and wet. And there he was. Mr. Grant leaned against the sagging backyard fence, arms crossed, smirking like the devil had taught him manners. A toothpick dangled from his lips. His shirt was half-tucked, boots muddy, eyes mean enough to curdle milk. Well, well, he drawled, voice syrupy and sharp. Looks like the circus showed up. Scar laughed once, cold, humorless. Funny. We thought the same thing when we saw your face. Maine's jaw ticked. He didn't blink. Grant shrugged, looking straight at Buck. You boys breaking into houses now? Lady just had a slip. Happens when folks ain't careful. Buck stepped down one stair. Slow. Measured. That woman didn't slip. And you know it. Grant sucked his teeth. You got proof, old man? He leaned closer, lowering his voice so only Buck could hear. Or you just sticking your nose where these people don't belong? Buck's eyes went flat, the dangerous kind of quiet. Scar growled under his breath. Buddy, you do not want to go racial tonight. Grant smirked wider. Racial? No, just saying some folks. Well, they're accident-prone. Cops don't listen to kids for a reason. At the door behind them, the boy flinched. Maine tapped the fence post, voice low. So you're proud of scaring a kid? Grant's expression flickered. Just a second of shame. Then came back twice as cruel. Kid needs learnin'. Mama owes rent? I collect, she cries. Boo-hoo! He puffed his chest, arms folded. And what are y'all gonna do about it? Call the police? Scar leaned in, whisper dark. Oh, pal, we don't call the cops unless we're bored. Buck raised one hand, stopping Scar before he could step further. He turned to Grant. You listenin'? That boy ran for help, 'cause the people paid to protect him walked away. Grant rolled his eyes. Not my problem. Buck's tone dropped. Heavy. Final. It is now. Grant's laugh was a bark. You think you can scare me? I pay the sheriff's kids' football fees. Whole town owes me favors. The boy's voice cracked from behind them. Please, don't let him hurt Mama again. Grant spun, pointing. Hey, you shut that mouth or... Scar moved so fast the air snapped. His hand clamped on Grant's wrist, squeezing until joints popped. Say one more word to that kid. Grant's knees buckled. Let go. Buck's voice slid in soft cold. You're gonna step away from that fence. Go sit on your porch and wait for the sheriff we're calling. You understand? Grant stuttered, eyes watering. Sheriff won't touch this. Maine pulled out his phone, voice level like a doctor reading bad news. I'm calling state troopers, genius. They love folks who interfere with minors. Grant froze. State troopers don't play politics. The toothpick fell from his lips. He backed away, slow at first, then faster, until he disappeared behind his door, slamming it like a gunshot. Scar released a long breath. Coward! Buck didn't celebrate. He turned to the boy. "You ain't alone anymore. Hear me?" The boy nodded into his vest, whispering, "Yes, sir." Then, from the house, a thump. The woman moaned louder. Pain returning, Buck's face snapped serious. "Scar, bring the bike truck around. Maine, get blankets. We're taking her out of here." Scar sprinted. Maine vanished. The boy wiped his eyes. "Will she be okay?" Buck rested a hand on his shoulder. "We're gonna fight like hell to make sure she is." And as engines roared awake and headlights cast long shadows, across the yard, a curtain twitched. Someone else was watching. Neighbors. Silent. Afraid. Complicit. Buck muttered, "This town needs a wake-up call, because tonight wasn't the end. It was the spark." Sirens didn't scream. They sort of wandered down the road, lazy as Sunday traffic. Blue and red lights washed over the trailer park, bouncing off rusted cars and tired windows. Buck stood on the porch, arms crossed, jaw set. Scar and Maine flanked him, still as statues. 2 officers stepped out. Not rushed, not alert, just annoyed. Officer Denton tugged his belt, nodding at the unconscious mother on the stretcher Scar had rigged from blankets. "What's the problem here?" He sighed. Buck's eyes narrowed. "Problem's lying right there, officer." Denton glanced once and shrugged. "Looks like another drunk fall." "We see it every week," the boy gasped. "She wasn't drunk." Officer Kemp waved him off. Hey, easy, champ. Adults are talking," Scar growled, real low. "Don't talk down to that kid." Denton scribbled nothing on his clipboard. "Well, we can't take a statement from someone who's—" "Nap time." Buck stepped forward. "She's not sleeping. She's concussed. There's bruising on the neck. Fresh." Denton yawned. "I'm not a doctor." Maine folded his arms. "Then do the other part of your job. Ask who did it." The officers exchanged a look, tired and bored. Then Kemp flipped his notepad. "Name," the boy swallowed hard. "Mama's name is—" "Loretta Hayes. Everything." Stopped. Kemp froze, pen mid-air. Denton's whole posture shifted, chin up, eyes sharp. "Hayes?" He cleared his throat. "As in Judge Hayes?" The boy nodded slowly. "She's my grandma." The officers suddenly stopped being lazy. Kemp clicked his pen twice. "We need backup here. Now." He spoke into his shoulder mic. Fast. Like someone lit a fire under him. Denton's lips tightened. "She's the one who nearly shut down the county budget hearings last year." Scar blinked. "Funny how y'all can remember that, but not how to protect a woman." Across the yard, one officer whispered to the other, "If the judge finds out we ignored her daughter." Buck heard every word. "So let's get this straight," he said gently. "She mattered. Only after a name got involved?" Kemp's ears went pink. "We're just following protocol." Buck leaned in, voice soft as a blade. "Protocol didn't stop you from dragging your feet. Or talking down to her boy." Behind them, more cruisers rolled in, this time fast, doors flying open. Paramedics gently lifted Loretta onto a proper stretcher. One glanced at Buck. "She's stable, but someone's been choking her." Repeated. Not new. The boy trembled. And then, from a nearby porch, Grant peeked out again, except now, his smirk was gone. He saw the officers whispering, saw the urgency, saw the judge's name echo. Grant's face went ghost white. Scar pointed. "There he is. Same guy who threatened the kid. House smells like rage." Officers turned, hesitant. Kemp swallowed. We, need a warrant. A state trooper's SUV turned the corner. Sirens sharp, lights brutal. Trooper Lee hopped out, boots pounding. What's the situation? Buck nodded toward Grant's trailer. Suspected assault. Witness intimidation. Lee didn't hesitate. Probable cause. Bring him in, Grant stuttered, hands shaking. You can't. Two troopers cuffed him clean and quiet. The boy's breath shuddered. He clutched his mama's hand as paramedics loaded her up. Denton stepped aside, suddenly polite. We'll coordinate transport, sir. Of course, sir. Funny how respect shows up late. As the ambulance doors closed, Buck placed a steady hand on the boy's shoulder. You're doing right by her, kid. The boy nodded, whispering, Thank you for coming. Buck smiled, tired, warm. We don't leave folks behind. Ever. Engines revved behind him. Biker jackets glowed under cruiser lights. Maine muttered, Something bigger than bruises in this town. Scar cracked his neck. You feel that too? Buck stared down the road where the ambulance disappeared. This ain't just violence, he murmured. It's power, and power protects itself. And as neighbors peeked from curtains, as officers whispered in fear of a judge's ears, a storm quietly formed, the kind that tears roots from rotten soil. The ambulance's siren faded down the highway, leaving a heavy kind of quiet in its wake. Neighbors slipped back behind curtains. Police cruisers rolled off one by one, but the bikers stayed. Buck stood with his hands on his hips, staring at the taillights disappearing like hope in the distance. Scar lit a cigarette, the flame dancing in his tired eyes. Knew I recognized that woman, Maine muttered. Buck turned. I'd say that again? Maine glanced toward the boy, now sitting on the porch steps, hugging his knees. Loretta Hayes. She wasn't always stuck in this county. She served overseas. Combat medic. Scar blew smoke slow. Well, I'll be. Maine nodded. Saved lives under fire. Lot of boys didn't make it home. Some did because of her. Buck's brows knit. Which boys? Maine's jaw worked side to side before he answered. Mine and someone else's. Someone you know. Scar froze mid-puff. You don't mean... Maine nodded toward the biggest bike in the row. Chrome panels, deep blue flames, a set of initials etched on the tank. ASL. Buck swallowed. Steel Lance. Scar nodded, voice low. Club founder. Old dog. Retired 10 years now. That woman, Maine said quietly, patched him up on a dusty road halfway across the world. Bullet inches from his spine. She kept her hands on him for 3 hours till evac. Buck stared at the road again, slower this time, so she saved our own. Maine nodded. Debt don't evaporate, especially not that kind. Scar flicked ash. You tell the old man? Not yet, Maine said. Figured the storm was just getting started. Buck nodded, almost whispering. Call him. He deserves to know. Maine pulled out his phone, fingers trembling just a bit, and stepped away. Scar plopped down next to the boy, voice soft. Hey, kid, you ever heard your mama talk about Afghanistan? The boy wiped his nose. Just that she was scared sometimes, but she helped people. Said fear don't stop hands from working. Buck smiled faintly. Sounds like her. The boy's eyes lifted, red, swollen. You think she'll be okay? Buck knelt, big hands gentle on the kid's shoulders. Son, your mama's tougher than leather boots. She's seen more bad days than most folks see in a lifetime. And she's still breathing. That's all fighters need. The boy nodded, just barely. Maine walked back, phone pressed tight to his ear. Old man's on his way. Said he'd be here before sunrise." Scar whistled low. "Haven't seen him move that fast since the county fair." Buck stood again, boots creaking. "When a medic saves a soldier overseas, that's not medicine. That's bond. That's blood." The boy looked up. "And what does that mean?" Scar nudged him. "It means this ain't charity, little man. It's payback. And payback don't miss." A truck engine rumbled in the distance, a low, angry growl rolling like thunder across the park. Buck tilted his head. "Hear that?" Maine nodded. "Old man's already driving like the devil's on his tail." Scar grinned, sharp. "That debt's coming due." The boy stood beside them, tiny shoulders squared. For the first time tonight, he didn't look so helpless, off in the darkness. Porch lights clicked on one by one as neighbors peeked out, whispering like ghosts. "Who's that?" someone muttered. "Why's the founder coming back?" Another hissed. "Because a woman who saved lives on foreign soil was left bruised on American ground. And men who carry scars under leather don't forget hands that kept them alive." The storm wasn't coming anymore. It had arrived. The clubhouse wasn't fancy, smelled like old wood, motor oil, and coffee burnt halfway to tar. But tonight, it was fortress. Buck stood at the center, voice low, steady. "Keep eyes on every door. Nobody gets in without a patch vouchin'." Leather jackets shifted like armor plates. Boots lined the hallway. Radios crackled softly. Upstairs, Loretta lay asleep on a cot, an IV line hanging from a cooler. Her breath was shallow, but real. The boy sat next to her, small hand resting on hers. He kept whispering, "I'm here, Mama. I'm here." Scar poked his head inside, voice gentle for once. "She's holding steady, kid. You holler if she wakes, yeah?" Downstairs, Maine poured coffee into mismatched mugs. His hands didn't shake often, but tonight they had a tremor. Buck rubbed his jaw. "You think neighbor's done?" Maine didn't answer, just nodded toward the dusty window. Headlights swept across the clubhouse again. Slow, predatory. Same truck, same dented bumper. Scar cursed under his breath. "That's the fifth pass." The boy's head popped up from the stairwell. "And that's him, the man who yelled at Mama when she wouldn't open the door." Buck's eyes narrowed. "Yelled what?" The boy swallowed. "He said she owed him, said she was gonna pay up eventually." Maine slammed his mug down. Coffee spilled like dark blood on the table. "What the hell kind of man threatens a sick woman?" Buck held up a hand, voice low. "There's history here we ain't seen yet." The truck rolled by again, slower this time, engine idling long enough to make your teeth itch. Scar stepped outside, hands in pockets, casual but tense. The truck's driver leaned halfway out the window, smirk curling like smoke. "Evening," Scar said flat. The man nodded toward the clubhouse. "Didn't know y'all ran a daycare. That woman owes me rent, and if she won't pay, her kid will." Scar's eyelid twitched. "Once." "Careful who hears you talk like that," man chuckled. "Careful? I am careful. Small town. Deputy's my cousin. Police don't lift a finger." He tapped his bumper. "Funny how rules change when you know the right badge." Scar leaned closer, voice turning cold. "Funny how bones break the same, no matter who you know." The man's smirk faded, just a flicker, before he drove off again. Taillights glaring like eyes. Scar returned inside, jaw tight. "Buck, we got ourselves a landlord bully with friends wearing uniforms." Buck sighed. "Figured as much." Upstairs, Loretta stirred, eyes fluttering. Her voice cracked. "Where?" Where's my boy? The child rushed to her side. I'm here, Mama. We're safe. We're with the bikers. Loretta managed a weak smile. I remember them. Overseas. Good men. Honest hands. She tried to sit up. Pain ripping through her ribs. Maine eased her back gently. Easy now. You're safe. Loretta grabbed Buck's vest. Strength surprising him. You can't let him near my son. He's been stalking us for months. Keeps saying he wants what I don't have. Buck's brow furrowed. What exactly does he want? Loretta swallowed hard. My husband's insurance. He thinks I got money hidden. There's nothing. We spent it on treatments. Downstairs, tires crunched gravel again. Scar cursed. That's 7 passes. Somebody's getting brave. Maine cracked his knuckles. Boys, safe house rules are simple. We guard. We protect. But if he steps through that door, Buck cut in. Voice like gravel. We don't start fights. He walked slow to the window. We finish 'em. The boy peeked around the corner, voice barely above a whisper. Why won't the police help? Scar knelt to eye level. 'Cause sometimes the badge forgets the oath. That's when folks like us step in, not to replace justice. He tapped the boy's chest, gentle, but to remind it where it lives. Outside, the truck idled, then gunned off toward town. Buck's eyes hardened. He's going to grab reinforcements. Maine nodded once. Good. So will we. Scar reached for the radio on the wall. Crackle, buzz, then Steel Lance respondin'. 10 minutes out. Don't start without me. Every biker in the room straightened, like soldiers hearing the old captain's boots in the hall. Loretta whispered, tears welling. He came, after all these years. Buck smiled, slow. You saved him once. Now he's here to return the hand. And far off, in the dark, another engine roared. One good, one bad, both racing toward a battered clubhouse, where leather jackets stood shoulder to shoulder, guarding a mother's breath. Something was about to break, and it wouldn't be the bikers. Engines rumbled in the parking lot like thunder rolling in slow. Leather jackets lined up at the clubhouse door, arms crossed, eyes sharp. Then a different sound cut through the growl. A single engine. Calm. Controlled. Headlights swept the gravel, then faded as the bike shut off. A man stepped off. Trench coat, badge on his belt, gray at his temples. Detective Harris. Folks in town whispered that he was one of the last good ones. Buck met him halfway. You come to shut us down? Harris shook his head. Came because I heard a kid screamed for help, and everybody else pretended they didn't. Upstairs, Loretta winced, voice hoarse. Oh, Harris? I haven't seen you since? He raised a hand gently. And I ain't forgotten what you did for my squad overseas, Scar snorted. The figures. Harris reached inside his coat, pulled out a thick, yellowed manila folder, corners bent, paper tired. He set it on the table. Neighbors' names stamped in bold red ink. Charges circled. Assault. Extortion. Threats against a minor. Maine's eyes went wide. That was 10 years ago. Harris nodded slow. Should have locked him up. But somebody upstairs erased half the file. I tried pushing it. He tapped the edge of the folder. Case disappeared overnight. Poof. Buck's jaw tightened. Connections? Harris blew out a breath. Sheriff's brother-in-law. Judge golfed with him every Sunday. That man learned early. He leaned forward. As long as you've got the right friends, the law bends, Scar growled. Ain't bending tonight. Harris's voice dropped to a whisper. It gets worse. He's got paperwork showing custody interest in the boy if Loretta's found unfit. The bikers froze. Buck stared at Loretta. You know anything about this? Her eyes filled. He's been pushing forms under my door, saying I owe back rent, medical debt. If I sign, he gets my boy. The child clutched her sleeve, shaking. Scar slammed the table. He's not taking nothing but a hospital bed when we're done. Harris raised a palm. Do not go vigilante. Let me handle it by the book this time. Buck leaned in slow. And if the book gets burned again? Harris hesitated. Eyes flicked toward the clubhouse entrance. Then maybe justice needs volunteers. Tires squealed outside. The neighbors stormed in with 2 deputies. Badges crooked, smirks mean. Evening, boys, the neighbor sneered. Heard you're harboring a woman who owes me property damages. Loretta whispered, I only missed rent when I got sick. Deputy number 1 waved paperwork. And that's abandonment of financial responsibility. We're taking the kid into protective custody. The boy screamed, No! Mama didn't do nothing. Buck's crew stepped forward as one. Boots creaked. Jackets shifted. Harris moved between them, voice like stone. You're not taking anybody. Deputy smirked. Who's going to stop us? Harris flipped open the file, slapped it against the deputy's chest. Public record. Assault charges. Intimidation. Extortion attempts. This woman's a protected medical witness from overseas. He jabbed a finger at the neighbor. And he threatened a minor. Deputies' faces paled. Neighbor sputtered. That case was closed. Harris smiled cold. Not anymore. Somebody pulled the plug back then. Turns out that somebody retired. Which means he snapped cuffs open with a flick. I can reopen the whole damn thing. Bikers grinned like wolves. Neighbor glanced at the door, planning to run. But Scar blocked it. Nah, friend. Doors closed. Deputies looked between Harris, Buck, Scar, then set their hands up slowly. Harris cuffed the neighbor. You're going away for a long time. And whatever angels you had in high places. He nodded at Buck's crew. They just fell off their ladder. Loretta sobbed into her hands. Relief, exhaustion, gratitude. Buck knelt beside the boy. You okay, kid? He nodded, trembling. You stayed. Buck squeezed his shoulder. Real men don't run from cries like yours. We run toward 'em. As the neighbor was dragged out, still screaming threats into the night, Scar muttered, Funny, justice shows up late, but she still shows. Harris gave Buck one last look. Tomorrow morning, the judge signs emergency protection. You two stay here tonight. My officers'll rotate guard. Buck smiled, tired. Appreciate you, Detective. Harris tipped his head. Don't thank me yet. Tomorrow. Might get loud. And outside, sirens began to wail. But for the first time tonight, they were coming for the right man. Weeks rolled by, slow as cold molasses. Then court day came. The hallway outside the courtroom buzzed like bad neon, lawyers in shiny shoes, whispers bouncing off marble. Then doors opened, and in she walked, Loretta. Bruises faded, but not forgotten, one hand resting on her son's shoulder. And behind them, a wall of leather jackets, Buck's riders, standing tall and quiet as stone pillars. No yelling, no threats, just presence. The judge glanced up, and actually flinched. He recognized those patched vests. He recognized Detective Harris, and he recognized the file sitting fat and heavy on his bench. The neighbor sat at the defense table, sweating, lawyer whispering like a desperate auctioneer. Judge cleared his throat. We'll begin, Harris stood. Voice steady. Your Honor, we present renewed evidence of battery, attempted custody manipulation, and intimidation of a medical witness. Gasps rippled through the gallery. The neighbor's lawyer shot up. Objection. These charges were dismissed years ago. Harris smiled, thin and sharp, and reopened legally. When the man protecting them retired, he slid photos forward. Bruises, hospital reports, rent demands taped to doors, custody petitions forged with panic behind them. The judge's eyes narrowed. Did you threaten this family? Over unpaid rent? Neighbor stuttered. They owed me. I had rights. The boy stood, voice small, but strong. He scared my mom every night. He said he'd take me if she got tired. Silence fell like a dropped curtain. Judge leaned back, face changing. Tired of the game. I've seen enough. Gavel lifted. But the neighbor panicked, burst to his feet shouting, That woman's nothing. She's weak. She can't even protect. Thunderslam gavel cracked. You will not speak again. Courtroom froze. Judge looked at Loretta, voice soft. Ma'am, do you wish to speak? She swallowed, hands trembling. I don't want revenge, she whispered. I want peace. For my boy, for my home. Buck's jaw clenched. Scar wiped his eye. Even Harris blinked slow. Judge nodded, then looked down at the neighbor. You exploited fear. You manipulated filings. And you threatened a child. Sentence rolled off his tongue like iron. I hereby order full restraining protections, 72 months incarceration, and permanent removal of custody petitions. The courtroom erupted. Cheers, sobs, leather jackets, pounding fists in the air. The neighbor was dragged off, screaming promises nobody believed. The judge pointed his gavel. And one more thing. The state will forgive overdue medical bills. We protect those who served, Loretta gasped. Her knees buckled. Buck and Scar caught her like family. The boy wrapped his arms around her waist, holding tight. We're safe now, Mama. Finally safe. Detective Harris smiled, voice low. Justice came late, but she walked through the door anyway. Outside, the bikers rolled engines, not to intimidate, but to escort mother and son home. Front, back, all sides. Street folks peeked from porches, mouths open, eyes softening. And as the convoy roared past, something shifted in that little town. Fear packed its bags. Respect moved in. Justice ain't about power. It ain't about loud voices or fancy titles. It's about standing for someone when everyone else walks away. Sometimes the strongest armor in this world is simply showing up.